Tom MacDonald had her farm. You already know what time it is. Let's tap into it.
You know squad. You know my squad. I said now ain't nobody messing with my squad. You know my squad. You know my squad.
Okay, Tom, what you got for us today, big fella? I'm behind a couple music videos, but I'm gonna catch up on everything Tom MacDonald. So let's go. This one is called Clown World. Let's get right into it. If you want to guarantee reaction video requests, head over to ScribeCash.com. Click the link in the description below. Let's go.
You worry about leaving a better planet for our kids. How about leaving better kids for our planet? Entire generation offended at everything, getting mad that a human thinks all lives matter. We don't need black or white or left or right. All we need is common sense. We need balance. We're all in the same boat. Why you trying to make holes? If they sink, we sink. This is madness. I'm offended that you're offended by me taking offense. Can't build a wall. Why does your
I'm offended that you're offended by me taking offense. I'm weak.
house have a fence? I believe in two genders, I'm not mad at the rest. I'm just confused when a dude has a beard and some breasts. We won't always agree. No, I don't hate all police. No, I don't think that the system's racist. I just think the system hates people. I think fighting violence with more violence is what they want. Viruses and
That's a dope shot. I don't know how you got that. It was fire.
riots, people dying, we won't stay home. Black lives matter, all lives matter. What's all this division for? It's modern segregation. This is setting up a civil war. Burn the circus down, cause the world is full of clowns.
Not the middle finger, Tom. Not the middle finger, Tom.
They're all stupid and they're proud, painted smiles on their mouths. I don't hang with bozos, homie, I can't be around you. Anyone who knows me knows my feet.
I think you green screened yourself into that shot, and that's pretty fire. That's fire.
Don't fit in clown shoes. When I was a child, the only races that we hated were the ones that we ran and didn't win. Then we stopped playing with each other, started hating on each other, started noticing the color of our skin. Christians and atheists, immigrants, patriots. We love the country, but we are not saving it. Wages don't raise to the rate of inflation, and half of the country hates all of the nation. It's funny that we think the world owes us something. All the phones got smart, but the people so dumb. We care more about the likes on a selfie than our moms, and the only time we ever speak the truth when we're drunk. We won't always agree. No, I don't hate all police. No, your thoughts and opinions ain't facts, and they are not defining my reality. No, I think picking sides divides. It's probably what has got us here. United States is great regardless. That's what we forgot in here. Black lives matter, all lives matter. What's all this
I
division
like that.
for? It's modern segregation. This is setting up a civil war. Burn the circus down, cause the world.
I don't think anybody wants a civil war. I just don't think that's happening. I'm be honest. I just don't think it's happening. I don't. I really don't.
Down, cause the world is full of clowns. They're all stupid and they're proud, painted smiles on their mouths. I don't hang with bozos, homie, I can't be around you. Anyone who knows me knows my feet don't fit in clown shoes. They tell you be yourself and then they judge you on the internet till everybody hates you for it. If Jesus was alive, I swear to God they all would cancel him, cause lately being negative's the real new.
They would cancel Jesus, Tom? Yeah, that's a good one.
Cancel, cause lately being negative's the real new normal. Yeah, if you think you're fat, you're rich, you're bad, you're poor, you're black, you're white, you're whack, they lie, it's facts. My generation needs a bunch of free condoms, cause common sense ain't that common. This is what they wanted, this is how they planned it. This is to control everyone on the planet. And we put each other in caskets, protest and panic.
I agree. The more that we don't understand that there's a group of people who let's say have a certain agenda, and that agenda is to keep people without knowledge, and to keep situations divisive, then yeah. But at the same time, I do think that there needs to be acknowledgement taking place of the issue. And I think for me, at least I can speak for me, I can't speak for all African American people, but the lack of acknowledgement of just pure basic facts that have taken place to African American people in America, the lack that you don't even want to acknowledge what took place is ridiculous. Like, it's literally ridiculous. How are you going to sit and tell us something that we haven't experienced? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to sit and tell us as black people that we're not experiencing something? Like, bruh, you're not black. It's just crazy to me that everybody who's saying racism doesn't exist, and by all means, Tom, I don't think you're one of these people, that systematic racism doesn't exist, is white. I've yet to see one person of color ever. Like, I've yet to experience one person of color be like, systematic racism doesn't exist. It's only the people that systematic racism is not necessarily directly affecting telling us that it doesn't exist. It's the same people who are telling me that slavery wasn't that bad. How are you going to sit here and tell me when my grandmother's grandmother, that's not that far ago, by the way, grandmother's grandmother was a slave, that slavery wasn't bad, that very few slaves got beaten? Like, this is utterly preposterous. It's your lack of acknowledgement and understanding that white privilege is not saying that all white people have certain advantages in their life. That is not what white privilege is. White privilege is a systematic issue. Let me explain it, since I'm on this rant. And this is what happens when I watch Topic Dot. I always get on these rants. I love you, Top. Thank you for this. Here's a white privilege dumbed down explanation, right? Let's say we're all playing a game. And this game happens to be basketball, right? And so we got two different teams, right? Let's say we got Team A, and then we have Team B. And we're all playing basketball. We know the games of basketball, the rules, the playing of basketball. And we're playing basketball for 200 years. Let's just say, I'm just throwing this number out. I know slavery was longer, but 200 years. But here's the thing. During this game, though, Team A, what we decided to do for Team A is we decided that we're going to make the basketball hoop net that Team A shoots in, we're going to lower it down about 5 feet, right? And so Team B is going to have to shoot on the regulation side of the basketball net. So, of course, what happens? You know, we play this game for 200 years, right? We're playing this game. Same basketball game, but Team A is able to shoot at like a lower net. You know what I'm saying? Of course, they're running up the score. They're just, whoo, Team A's just buckets, right? And then after 200 years, referees come in and they're like, boop, 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 boop. All right, well, we're gonna raise it back up for Team A. Now they're gonna shoot at regulation, right? And the game is just gonna continue. That's it. It's just going to continue. We're not going to lower the net for Team B to catch up to the score. Team A has ran up the points. It's 500-15 right now. We're just going to keep the game going. Of course, Team B is not going to be able to catch up to Team A because for the past 200 years, Team A has been playing on a net that has been lowered and set up for Team A to be successful. That is white privilege, in the sense that white privilege is a systematic issue. And no, that doesn't mean every single person has had white privilege. Every single man or woman has had white privilege to get them to a certain place. But there has been systematic things that have prevented black people and people of color, minority people, let's just say minority of people, for having the same chances as other people. And because, yes, we understand that today in 2021, that the playing field to a certain extent has been even. We all have equal opportunities now. But does that mean that we shouldn't consider the fact that Team A has had the net lowered? I.e. how? You're like, okay, so how? Well, one, for years, black people weren't even acknowledged as actual people. We were considered 1/5 of a person. We couldn't vote. So therefore, if you couldn't vote, then how are you participating in politics? How are you participating in policy? We couldn't own property. And then even after that, quote unquote, we got that in, we still had what's called the Jim Crow era. And then it's like, okay, then we had segregation, right? And all right, so we had the Voting Rights Act. That was, what was that? 64, 68, correct me if I don't have the exact date. That's literally my parents' lifetime. We're talking about my parents. When my parents were born, is when we like, quote unquote, want to talk about our country being equal. And even since then, it's like, okay, well, women still didn't even have the right to vote until after that. Like, so how can we sit here and be like, systematic equality and systematic racism doesn't exist? These systems have been in place and just now have been broken down within my parents' lifetime, bro. And then yet we don't think that we should deal with the results of that. The results are still living here. They're still in America. There are still issues because of the Jim Crow era, because of segregation era, because of slavery that still exists today. Just because you don't experience it doesn't mean that it's real. And let me give you this other example. Just because we can't see the wind blowing doesn't mean that it's not there. Duh. Like that part. Stop telling other people what they experience just because you're not experiencing it. Or, i.e., just because you're not the one inflicting the problem. And the sooner we get an acknowledgement of that it's a real thing, the sooner that we all can get on the same page that yes, racism exists. Yes, that there are certain instances where black people are treated unfairly, and more so than their white counterparts. As soon as we can get an acknowledgement of that, then we can take that acknowledgement and it's time to be about the change. If you're not that racist person, this is what you do. You sit and say, okay, I'm going to vote, and I'm going to vote people in to make sure that the people that we vote in are not inflicting more racist politics, right? And it's the same thing as African American people. Just as much as we want to talk about the system being broken, just as much as we want to talk about inequalities within that system, it is still our responsibility in a community, as a community, to say this is what we can do within our own community to make a difference. This is what we can do to make a change amongst ourselves. It's just because we acknowledge that it exists, and yes, it does exist, we can't use that as an excuse, because the people who came before me didn't use that as an excuse, and the people who came before them didn't use it as an excuse. There are people who came from slavery. If you survive slavery, bro, slavery, and managed to be successful and managed to take care of your family, and then even when you had the Jim Crow era, and even when you had the segregation era, there were black people who still was able to thrive. Was it harder? Yes. Was it fair? No. So as African American people, we can't make excuses. And then as white people or non-minority or non-oppressed people, you have to have an acknowledgement. And it is not my job anymore to teach you that it exists. We are tired of telling you that it exists. It exists. It is now your job as that oppressed person to be the change amongst each other. Tell other people that exists. This is what we can do to make a difference. And I'm so on a rant right now, bro, but I freaking love Tom. He does this to me every single time, bro. Every single time he does this. Every single time. And so, thus, I guess what I'm trying to say, long story short, there are facts that as society, if we do not acknowledge these facts, if we do not make an effort to make a change, we will still have that division, because the problem isn't going anywhere. And this is exactly what they want, is that division between us, to not acknowledge these things exist. Because at the end of the day, we're all being oppressed. Socioeconomically, environmentally. If anything, the pandemic should have taught you was this quote unquote job security thing is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. They want you to not own your own business. They want you to just work for them for a certain amount of wages. They want you to be stuck in poverty. That's what they want. They want that. And so in order for us all, whether we're white, black, LGBT, doesn't matter, we have to stick together in a sense of, yes, we're gonna acknowledge things that have taken place in the past. We're gonna move forward. We're commit to changing that, and then we're also gonna help each other, because that's really what it boils down to, is how do we interact on a one-on-one basis. We have to have these difficult conversations. Some people need to be felt uncomfortable. It is okay for you as a white person to feel uncomfortable about American history. You should feel uncomfortable about American history based off of the actions that forefathers have taken. But just because you're uncomfortable does not mean that we're saying that you should go run away and hide and never have these conversations. No, take that uncomfortability. Take that I can't find the words that I'm looking for, but take that conversation and then build upon it and be like, you know what? I realized something. I'm going to do better than the people that came before me. I'm going to do a one-up. I'm going to go out of my way to make sure that that doesn't take place anymore in history. Like, fire. Back to the song. I could go on this for an hour, but back to the song.
each other in caskets, protest and panic, and they take advantage to manage the damage. We won't always agree, no, freedom doesn't come free. No, there was people fighting, dying overseas, so that you can have freedom and be home. I think the elites are real, but they ain't drinking babies' blood. They're creating.
That part, that's a good one. I think the elites are real, but they're not. No, they're not drinking baby's blood. They're sitting up laughing at us right now. They are. They're laughing at us.
In chaos, so they have something to save you from. Black lives matter, all lives matter. What's all this division for? It's modern segregation. This is setting up a civil war. Burn the circus down, cause the world is full of clowns. They're all stupid and they're proud, painted smiles on their mouths. I don't hang with bozos, homie, I can be around you. Anyone who knows me knows my feet don't fit in clown shoes.
That part, feet don't fit in clown shoes. You heard me? Man, Tom, I definitely could have. I don't even know how long this video is. 15 minutes? Yeah, I could have went on for hours about this subject. Super thought-provoking. Love you, Tom. I will catch the next video. It's going down. See you next time. Oh, Tom MacDonald playlist. We have that on the channel, so make sure you tap into that.